We all go to work to do a good job. None of us get in there and think, I'll just have a nice cup of coffee and then I'll screw up. In fact, we want to improve. We want to get better at what we do. We want to be more effective. And the most universal way of driving improvement is to set targets. But do they work? Do they drive the right behaviours? I'm going to share with you 3 examples where they might have had unintended consequences. And then I'm going to share with you actually a very simple and much more effective way of driving improvement and setting targets. Okay, so for the next few minutes, I'd like you to just change perspective. I'd like you to think as if you're the person that's going to meet the target. Okay? Seems simple enough? But just let's make it interesting. Let's play a little game. I'll reward you for meeting the target. Okay, it's obviously a free event, so I'm not going to hand out cash bonuses. But I will give a point if you think in the same way as the example. Okay, should get you to think in the way. So let's start with the ubiquitous call center. So you are the call center person on the phone with a headset just like this, with a microphone screen in front of you. Might be a bank or insurance company, phone, whatever. Okay, you're one of 100 people in a big room, open plan office, lots of calls coming in. You've got a customer on the line. But management have set you the target of answering 100 calls a day. Okay? So you've got to get this customer off the line as quickly as possible to answer the next one. Okay, so what are you going to do? What do you think? Well, you could transfer the call to another department. You could ask the customer to email in. You could direct them to the website, or you could just offer to phone them back later. Okay. So, did you get a point for that one? I guess that's happened to most people in the room. Okay? They're focused on the target, not on the customer. Okay, second example. Probably the organisation that's most in the media for being target-driven is the NHS. Okay? Interesting to see last night that Colchester NHS, the police have been called in because staff have been bullied into changing numbers. Anyway, we'll leave that one aside. You are now the manager responsible for meeting the 18-week target within the NHS. So what are you going to do? Now, you might like to improve the system of scheduling appointments, assessing people, actually carrying out procedures. The NHS is really complex. So that's going to take you some time to do. And you've got a target to meet. And it's one with national visibility. So how are you going to meet that target? What do you think? Well, you might delay putting people on the list for when the clock starts ticking. You could take the difficult people off and argue that they shouldn't be on the list anyway. And the people that are on there for too long, well, take them off. Call them socially unavailable or move them to another NHS department. You become focused on the number, on the target, not on the patient. Okay? So how do you do? Do you get a second point? Right, third example, last chance to get a point, and this one's about buses. Okay? Everybody knows that no buses come for ages and then you get 2 or 3 along at one time. Always happens. Well, this was a real problem in Chile. Okay, so the authorities there decided they would fix it by setting a target. They set a target for the number of passengers each bus driver had to get on their bus. Okay, remember, you've got to meet the target, so you are the Chilean bus driver. Okay? Dusty streets of Santiago. Okay? The authorities wanted them to slow down and pace themselves so they would arrive at more frequent intervals. So what are you going to do? Are you going to slow down or are you going to speed up? Because that's what the bus drivers did. They started racing each other to try to get to the bus stop. First, they're overtaking each other. Result, accidents went up by 67%. A classic example of hitting the target but missing the point. So did you pass all 3 points? In which case, good thinking. Devious thinking, okay, but good thinking. Now, targets are always set with the best of intentions. But what you get, at best, is not what you intended. Because employees learn that a lie a day helps their pay. So, should you set targets for the number of arrests that the police make? or the level of immigration, or the number of people on unemployment benefits? What about school league tables? Do they really drive up educational attainment? Or do they encourage schools to exclude the less able pupils? Okay. Teach kids just to pass exams rather than educate them? Or get them to just to sit the exams where they're going to get better marks in them? All of these cases, the targets have had consequences which weren't imagined when the targets were set. Targets give an illusion of control. In all reality, all moral, ethical, financial considerations go out the window because all you're focused on is the number, hitting that number. And there's only three things that you can do when you're set a target. One, you can change the number. Okay? That sounds like what NHS Colchester have been encouraging their staff to do. Then you can change the calculation, second way. Governments are famous for changing the calculation, right, just to make the numbers look better. Or thirdly, you can improve the process. Unfortunately, that very rarely happens because you're focused on the number and you haven't got time. So what do we do about all these targets? It's actually very simple. Instead of setting targets, ask people to solve a problem instead. Okay? So you might give a team of people the problem, currently, waiting times are too long. And the answer you get in Orkney compared to Glasgow might be completely different. Or currently, too many calls are transferred to this call centre. Or currently, all the buses seem to come at once. The problem when you set targets is you disengage, you disenfranchise, you just disenchant people. Okay? And you can see the people that work for these target-driven organisations like NHS and local government because they literally walk like this. They're weighed down by all these targets. Okay? But if you ask people to problem solve, they're energised, they're enthused, they're excited to be involved. The single most effective thing you can do to transform an organisation is teach people simple problem solving. So we have a choice. Do we want employees that are just focused on numbers and hate the targets and the managers that set them? Or do we want employees that are really focused on helping the customer, the patient, the client? For the sake of us all, let's ditch the targets and just ask people to solve problems instead. Thank you.